Turns out, when your own child steals from you, the legal system gives you this fun choice between family loyalty and financial survival. Super! After the disaster that was Thanksgiving dinner, I realized the family healing approach wasn't going to get me my money back. Tom's proposed payment plan of $100 a month meant I'd be 155 years old when the debt was paid off, assuming I developed vampire-like immortality along the way. I finally worked up the courage to meet with a lawyer. Her name was Diane, and her office had that expensive leather smell that immediately made me worry about her hourly rate. She wore a navy blue suit and reading glasses on a chain around her neck, which she put on to review the documents I'd brought, the PI's report, the credit card statements, the forged checks, all neatly organized in a 3-ring binder. Because if there's one thing retired school secretaries know how to do, it's organize paperwork. Diane looked at me with that special mix of pity and professional interest. She flipped through the evidence, making small, sounds that lawyers must learn in law school. You have a solid case, she said, finally removing her glasses. Identity theft, fraud, forgery. These are all criminal offenses, and the evidence is quite compelling. She leaned forward. But I have to ask, are you prepared to potentially send your daughter to jail? Because that's a possible outcome if you pursue criminal charges. Talk about impossible questions. Was I ready to be the mother who sent her own daughter to prison? The grandmother who explained to her grandkids why mommy was wearing an orange jumpsuit? I just want my money back. I said quietly, I'm not looking to punish them. I just need to survive. Diane nodded. That's understandable. We have options. We can pursue civil litigation to recover the funds without criminal charges, but collecting a judgment can be difficult, especially if they've already spent the money or hidden assets. My next stop was the police station. The officer who took my report was younger than my son, with a baby face. He kept typing my story into his computer with 2 fingers, occasionally looking up to clarify details. And you gave them the initial $50,000 voluntarily? He asked, emphasizing voluntarily like it was the only important part. Under false pretenses, I explained. They invented a fake business opportunity. Officer Babyface nodded vaguely. This sounds like a civil matter, ma'am. A family dispute over an investment gone bad. I pushed the folder with the PI's findings across the desk. They forged my signature on withdrawal slips. They opened credit cards in my name without my knowledge. That's identity theft, not a family dispute. He flipped through the documents reluctantly. I'll file the report, but the DA might not pursue charges in family matters like this. They tend to view it as complicated. Pursuing legal action against family is like trying to swim through molasses, technically possible but exhausting and messy. The system that should protect victims moves at a glacial pace when those victims share DNA with their abusers. When word got out that I was considering legal action, relatives I hadn't spoken to in years were suddenly very concerned about my spiritual well-being. My cousin Dolores called to remind me that forgiveness is divine. My Uncle Richard left a voicemail telling me I was being unchristian and vengeful. Even my prayer circle leader whispered, family matters should stay within the family. Meanwhile, Diane kept bringing me back to reality. Even if we win a judgment, collecting is another mountain to climb. They could declare bankruptcy, hide assets, or make minimal payments for years. And all the while, you'll be paying legal fees. The numbers she wrote were depressing. I might spend $15,000 in legal fees to chase money I might never fully recover. One concrete example. Even with a court judgment, I'd need to pay additional fees for asset searches, wage garnishment filings, and property liens, with no guarantee of success. Things went from bad to absurd when I received a certified letter from Melissa and Tom, a cease and desist notice clearly printed from some legal template website. The letter demanded I cease and desist from making defamatory statements about them. Apparently, telling people they stole from me was damaging to their reputation. They steal my life savings, then threaten to sue me for talking about it. As I weighed my options, I faced practical hurdles at every turn. Filing identity theft reports required hours of paperwork and multiple visits to different agencies. Small claims court had strict monetary limits below what they'd stolen. Civil court meant expensive expert witnesses and depositions. I finally filed charges 3 months after that first confrontation dinner. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I realized something important. Loving my daughter didn't mean I had to be her victim. Her actions had consequences, and protecting her from those consequences wouldn't help either of us. The family Christmas card list got significantly shorter after that. I became the bad guy in many relatives' stories. But for the first time since this whole mess began, I slept through the night. The Grandkid guilt trip. Nothing complicates family betrayal quite like innocent children who have no idea their parents are financial con artists. My grandkids, Emma and Jack, ages 8 and 10, were the true casualties in this whole mess. I'd been Grammy to them since they were born, the one who babysat every Wednesday, who knew exactly how Jack liked his peanut butter sandwiches cut diagonally, never in rectangles, and who could braid Emma's hair exactly the way she wanted for her dance recitals. 3 days after I filed the police report, my phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. Until this misunderstanding is resolved, we think it's best the kids don't visit. Weekly Grandma Judy's canceled by text message. No discussion, no transition plan for the kids, just immediate grandma removal. I tried calling Emma on her emergency phone. No answer. I tried again the next day. Still nothing. When I checked social media, I discovered I'd been blocked from viewing their accounts where they regularly posted photos of my grandchildren. I sent birthday cards with gift cards inside. They came back marked, returned to sender, in Melissa's handwriting. My voicemails went unanswered. My emails about the garden Emma had helped me plant received nothing but silence. The worst part was learning what the kids were being told. My sister Ruth, who still attended family gatherings, reported that the children were hearing that Grandma is confused about money and Mommy and Daddy are helping Grandma, but she's angry about it. My own grandchildren were being taught that I was mentally unstable, that their parents were the helpful ones, and that my anger was irrational, the perfect narrative to ensure they wouldn't question my sudden absence. About a month into this blackout, my phone rang with Jack's name on the screen. Grammy? His little voice came through, slightly hushed. Why didn't you come to my baseball game? I hit a double, and Coach said my form was excellent. I sat down hard. I didn't know you had a game. Sweetheart. I would have been there if I knew. Mom said she told you about it. His voice had that confused quality children get when adult stories don't match. She said you were too busy. How do you explain financial fraud to a third grader without bad-mouthing his parents? You don't. There must have been a mix-up with the message. I said instead, I would never miss your game on purpose. I gotta go, he whispered suddenly. Dad's coming back from the garage. The line went dead. Emma's school had a grandparents' day in May, an event I'd attended every year since she started kindergarten. I discovered it afterward through Facebook photos posted by another grandmother. There in the background was Emma sitting beside Melissa's neighbor, a woman I'd met exactly once at a block party. They'd sent a substitute grandma rather than allow me to attend. The thought of Emma explaining this to her friends, while knowing I was just miles away, broke something inside me. I kept sending gifts, hopeful some might reach them. I later learned from Ruth that the kids received them, but were told they came from a friend rather than from me. 3 months into this separation, Melissa texted, please stop trying to buy the children's affection with constant gifts. It's confusing them. I wasn't trying to buy affection. I was desperately maintaining a thread of connection with children I loved deeply, who until recently had loved me back. The real heartbreak came during my legal action for visitation rights. The courtroom was cold in every sense. Melissa and Tom sat with their lawyer, me with Diane. The judge looked tired before we started. Melissa testified that I was mentally unstable and financially irresponsible, rich accusations from someone who'd stolen my life savings. My lawyer presented evidence of my relationship with the kids, photos, school projects, testimony from teachers who'd seen me at every school event for years. The judge ordered supervised visitation, 2 hours twice a month at a family visitation center. The kind of place where non-custodial parents with abuse histories see their kids. That's what our relationship had been reduced to. The first visit was agony. Emma and Jack arrived looking uncertain, holding their father's hands tightly. The social worker explained the rules. No discussing the legal case, no negative comments about parents, no unapproved gifts. Are you still mad at us? Emma finally asked, her voice small. Mad at you? Sweetheart, I could never be mad at you. Why would you think that? She looked down at her shoes, the new ones I hadn't helped pick out. Mom said you have anger issues, and that's why we can't see you at your house anymore. They'd stolen my money, my security, my relationship with my grandchildren, and now they were stealing my character in the eyes of the people I loved most. I'm not angry with anyone. I lied, because what else could I say? With a social worker watching, I just miss you both very much. By the end of our 2 hours, Jack showed me his baseball cards, and Emma told me about her science project. But the easy comfort we'd once had was gone, replaced by a caution that broke my heart. As they left, they gave me quick, awkward hugs, the kind you give to relatives you only see at Christmas, not the full-body tackles they used to greet me with. Finding humor in the wreckage. They say tragedy plus time equals comedy. In my case, it took about 6 months and 3 glasses of wine to find the absurd humor in my situation. I'm not saying I was sitting around laughing about losing my life savings. That part still stings like hell. But sometimes when life hands you a catastrophe, you either laugh or completely lose your mind. I chose laughter, mostly because the padded rooms at the psychiatric hospital probably don't have wine. The breaking point came when I got a call from a collection agency about one of the credit cards Melissa and Tom had opened in my name. The agent on the phone had this nasal voice that made everything sound like an accusation. Mrs. Griffin, we're calling about your outstanding balance of $12,483.92. He said, that's not my credit card. I explained for what felt like the 100th time. It was fraudulently opened by my daughter. There was a pause. Then, ma'am, the real owner would know about these charges. I'm going to need to verify your identity. I had to prove I was myself to discuss a debt that wasn't mine. When I started laughing, the poor guy probably thought I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had, a little bit. After that call, something shifted. I started seeing the dark humor in my situation. I created a list on my refrigerator titled, Things My Daughter Bought with My Retirement. Every time the PI or the credit card companies uncovered a new purchase, I'd add it to the list. My personal favorite was the $600 dog treadmill they bought for their chronically overweight pug, Winston. This dog, afraid of plastic bags, garden hoses, and his own reflection, used the treadmill exactly once, got his stubby little legs tangled, and fell off the back. The treadmill now serves as an expensive clothes rack. They also spent $400 on a smart water bottle that tracks hydration and $250 at a store that only